Good evening, everyone. Our group prepared an infographic that gives easy to understand overview of the topic assigned to us. First slide, please. It was already discussed that there are two basic principles in land ownership. These are the Regalian Doctrine under Section 2, Article 12 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution, which states that all lands of the public domain belong to the state and only by way of a grant from the state can lands pass to private ownership. Next is the right to private ownership, which is constitutionally guaranteed right that vests landowner absolute control and exclusive rights over the land subject to certain limitations by the state. Under the Regalian Doctrine, lands are classified only as a private and public lands pursuant to Article 419 of the Civil Code. Let us define what are the properties of public dominion. Public dominion or property owned by the state in its public or sovereign capacity and intended for public use and not for the use of the state as a juridical person. So there are three kinds of property of public dominion. First is a property intended for public use. Second, property which is not for public use but intended for public service. And third is the property intended for the development of national wealth. On the other hand, private lands are those that are not within the properties of public dominion or those acquired by grant, while Article 421 of the Civil Code defines the patrimonial property. So, what are those properties? These are the properties owned by the state in its private or proprietary capacity. It is treated like a private property and are those owned by the state not devoted to public use, public service, and for the development of national wealth, and it may be acquired by private individuals or corporations through acquisitive prescription. Now, focusing on land public domain, these lands can be classified according to its alienability. In Article 12, Section 3 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution, categorized that the lands of public categorize the lands of public domain into four. These are the agricultural land, forest or timber lands, mineral lands, and national parks. However, of the four classes of public land, only agricultural land may be alienated, while the forest or timber, mineral, and national parks are not alienable and disposable lands of the public domain. Thus, an agricultural land is one that is devoted to agricultural or non-agricultural activity and one which may be used for residential, industrial, and commercial purposes.
Thank you,
Next.
Sandra. Thank you, Sandra. Good evening, Attorney Samson and classmates. We're here to summarize what Mr. Valientos discussed last week. To sum it up, acquisitive prescription, which is only applicable on patrimonial property of the state, is divided into two: ordinary prescription and extraordinary prescription. The former, requiring possession of 10 years, must be in good faith and just title, while the latter need not have good faith or just title, just a 30-year period of adverse possession. Alienable and disposable lands are properties that are already segregated from, from inalienable lands of the public domain by a positive government act and are divided into two main categories, mainly patrimonial lands and lands of public domain, and the two subcategories which are A&D lands open for dispositions and A&D lands which cannot be the subject of private ownership. And A&D lands which are open for dispositions are further subdivided into agricultural, residential, educational reservations for town sites, and lands for public and quasi-public uses. While A&D lands that cannot be the subject of private ownership are civil and military reservations, foreshore and reclaimed lands, lakes, navigable rivers and creeks, lands intended for public or semi-public use, and land intended for some public use. Thank you for listening.